So today I'm talking with Dave Albin. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. You may not have known that. And he actually worked with Tony Robbins for years as his fire captain. So he organized the big firewalks that they do at his big events. But he's got such a powerful message, and especially for our community, his message about overcoming fear and getting past our old self. So the limiting beliefs that we may be holding on to, because a lot of us, man, and I'm guilty of this, the Army is one of the coolest things I ever did. And we're also told, basically, this is the coolest thing you're ever going to do. So when you get out, you got a big low, right? There's just this void. So Dave's going to explain what you can do to start getting over that feeling of, am I worth it anymore? Is there anything left? And also, it's Remembrance Day coming up here, and Remembrance Week, and Veterans Day coming up in the US. And so I wanted to use this time to just take a moment, make sure to connect with your bros, and if you need, and your sisters, of course, and just make sure that you do some buddy checks and make sure that, oh shit, what was that? Frickin' squirrel. And make sure that use the time during this weekend, during this time to actually remember and have a drink for all those buddies of ours that didn't make it back home. Last thing before I sign off here is I'm going to be launching my new book soon, and I'm really excited about it. Before you dive into the episode, head to the description. I put a link there, and it's all the conversations I've had with some of the best influencers and experts on the planet to make you harder to kill. It's going to be launched at the end of this month. So for Black Friday, love for you guys to get on the pre-sale. That's it. Enjoy the episode. Train hard, fight easy. Peace.
I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Natesto. Natesto is an FDA-approved testosterone replacement therapy. For those of you that are suffering from low testosterone and want to know more, head to natesto.com for more information. Folks, I'm sitting down with Dave Albin. This is going to be a really cool chat because, like I said before we hit record, Tony Robbins is a big influence in my life, believe it or not. This is some new intel for you folks that are listening to the podcast. He was part of my recovery because, not literally, he wasn't in my house. I didn't go to any of the conferences, but the amount of content he's got on the internet is outstanding. And so I would listen to his motivational speeches regularly. I still do it to this day. Dave here happens to have worked with Tony Robbins extensively for years. And not only that, it's pretty badass what he was doing with him. So we're going to chat about that. We're going to chat about literal firewalking and how to get inspired and get off your butt if you're having a bit of trouble getting inspired and moving forward. We're going to take the conversation down that route, and Dave's going to be our guide. So Dave, thank you for dedicating some time today to chat to us here at the Hard to Kill community. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, David. Always an honor, man. You do all the work, I just come here and run my pie hole, so it's all good. I'm honored to be here and honored to be able to hopefully share some value, with your audience.
Right on. So let's just start with getting right into it. I want to start with a quote. It's your quote to frame what we're talking about here. And it's, the only thing keeping you from achieving greatness is the fear that says you can't. Yeah. That is such a powerful quote, man. So let's start with that. Why is that something that inspires you, obviously, but something that obviously that you attach yourself to? Yeah. Why is that such an important motto for you?
Well, I think some of that has to go, the credit has to go to Henry Ford. Because I heard Henry Ford say, it was written somewhere, it's out there, that if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I don't know, one day, you can hear a quote like that 1,000 times. And then all of a sudden one day it's just like, boom, it hits you right upside the face. And so that, in addition to what I learned all those years in Tony Robbins' camp, because, like Tony, we've had conversations like, so why doesn't somebody get what they want in life? Well, there's a lot of answers, right? Well, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the education. I don't have the background. I'm too young. I'm too old, blah, blah, blah. There's a story that we create about why we can't or why we can have it. And that story's up to us. Like, we're the architect of that whole thing. So it doesn't matter. And I think Viktor Frankl probably left us the greatest book some of the greatest information ever when it comes to this whole idea around of that quote. If you don't know who Viktor Frankl is, he was in Auschwitz. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. And during his time there, I mean, they took everything from him. Everything. I mean, you know, they assassinated his family. Every single day he was there, not knowing if he was next to go to the chamber. And you're hearing the screams, you're hearing the suffering. They take your clothes, you're naked, you're cold, you're miserable, you're hungry. They took everything from these people. Except here's what Viktor Frankl figured out. He goes, wait, hold it. There's one thing you can't take from me. I have to let you. I have to relinquish that. And that's my attitude. And he also realized that divine purpose was going to get him out. That was, he said, someone has to get out of here and tell this story. So if you leave Afghanistan or you leave Iraq or you leave, you know, you're in combat somewhere in the world, you have to leave. And I think that's a really scary time. I think when you go over there, it's one fear, but when you're coming home, it's another fear. Because the bottom line is that where do we go now? Because its purpose is going to keep you alive. Because when you're in the military, for the most part, you're living from the outside in, which a lot of people do, right? So now what we have to do is we have to figure out how to live from the inside out. So when you come home and you're fragmented and all your brothers and sisters are all over the United States and you don't have access to them every day, that's the moment of reckoning. What are you going to do now? And I think largely what a lot of vets have done is that the divine purpose is I have to stay in this game to help my fellow veterans. Because you're pretty much going through a lot of you are going through the same thing. It's the same similarities. Most of you saw really unbelievable stuff. And you were exposed to some of the most terrifying visual effects ever. The question is, what are you going to do with it? You have to create the story about that. So, you know, create a story of empowerment. Because there's lots of brothers and sisters out there. You know, it's, David, I've been doing this podcasting thing. It was a couple of months ago. And I was on a show and we interviewed and after we recorded, Natalia asked me, she said, David, have you ever done a firewalk for veterans? And we should probably circle back and talk about what the firewalk is here in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll look at we'll make sure you guys know what that is. So, and I said, you mean specifically for veterans? And she said, yeah. And I go, no, I mean, we've had a lot of veterans at our events, but we haven't targeted one specifically for veterans. And I said, why? And, you know, what's going on? And she said, well, you know what the suicide rate is, don't you? And I said, yeah, I heard 22 a day. She goes, David, that's not true. It's not even close. That's only if they leave a note. And so I was like, you know, and then we went on to say, you know, she said it's in the upper 40s, maybe in the low 50s. And I don't know, man, it was like a gut punch, David. I was like, holy shit. I mean, I'm a vet. I grew up during the Vietnam era. My dad that raised me, he was a highly decorated vet in World War II, you know, career military officer, National Guard, Army. So I went, okay, I get you. You got me. I'm in. I want to do this, but can you give me a little bit of time to think about it so I can get this in my head and create something in and around the Firewalk experience? And so I went to bed that night and I woke up in the middle of the night and I woke up and it was like clear as day. It's like everything I'd ever done in my entire life came down to that morning when I woke up, and the saying that was in my head was Operation Do No Harm. And then it dawned on me that there's others that are, you know, that are out there too, that suicide is really high. Yes, veterans is very high, but so is first responders. You know, when a firefighter leaves the firehouse, you know, a lot of that same thing takes over. You know, they're fragmented, they're alone. They're not crawling in and out of cars with their bros every day, saving people's lives. They're not carrying people out of buildings. They're not running into a building when it's on fire and everybody else is running out, right? So all that kind of goes away. Depression sets in. And there's two other categories that I absolutely love and I brought into Operation Do No Harm. So we got vets, first responders, and single mothers. You don't think life's hard?
Interesting.
Try being a single mom. Or a single dad too, by the way.
Fellas, bring it in. Nice and tight. Bring it in. Nice and tight. We need to talk about it.
All right, seriously. We need to talk about something that
Most of us don't want to talk about it. That's why I put on my nice blue dress shirt to bring a bit of seriousness to an often hilarious topic. But your sexual health is no joke. Seriously though, sexual health needs a lot more attention than it's been given. Let me go over a few things here. Research has shown that regular sex, what's 1 to 2 times per week, can reduce the risk of cardiovascular mortality by 50%. Bring that one to your wife right now. Lower the risk of prostate cancer by 33% and reinvigorate your mind and body. The problem is 40% of men in their 40s, 50% of men in their 50s, and 60% of men in their 60s experience some form of erectile dysfunction. This is even worse in the veteran community. On top of all this, erectile dysfunction is correlated with a future cardiovascular event and is an early warning sign of a future issue. This is why Dr. Elliot, board certified urologist and friend of the podcast, has created this one of a kind, first in its category, revolutionary device called the Firm Tech Ring. This high-speed tech for your dick will give you real-time data and allow you to see how many nocturnal erections you get every night, which can be a great bit of data that you can bring to your doctor for a future conversation. Not only that, this data could literally save your life. You know, I'm all about improving the health and lives of the veteran community. And that's why I've paired up with Dr. Elliot Justin to provide you with a 10% discount if you head to the link that's here in the description to get yourself your first Firm Tech Ring if you use the code DMorrow at checkout. So head to the link in the description and start tracking so that you can start banging. All right, brother. So go do what you got to do and be one of the first to bring a whole new meaning to being hard to kill. I want to be able to save you almost $4,000 per year. If you haven't got yourself a copy of The Nimble Warrior, this is my first book, and it is all based on what I've done in order to get myself out of the pain cave. Let me explain. Over 60% of Canadian Armed Forces veterans are experiencing chronic pain. Of all the medical releases, about 42% are musculoskeletal injuries. If we boil that down, a lot of us are suffering from back, knee, and hip injuries. What that means is we're experiencing high levels of pain, which reduce your quality of life. If you want to change that, I recommend getting a copy of my book, The Nimble Warrior, right here. You're going to be able to find a copy on Amazon, and you're going to be able to start doing the protocol that I use to help myself get out of the pain cave when I hurt my back. So head over to Amazon right now. Description is in the bio. Link is in the bio, and you're going to be able to get your own copy in time for the Christmas season so that you can start moving and grooving and feeling a lot better about yourself. So head to the link, head to the description, and get yourself a copy of The Nimble Warrior.
You know, I think it's a little harder on moms. That's just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's true, but my opinion is I think it's a little harder. And then we have kids that have been abused and neglected. So there's 4 categories. So, you know, I worked for Tony Robbins for almost 20 years, and I was his fire captain. That's one of the jobs I did. In other words, Tony would go do an event called UPW, Unleash the Power Within, the Firewalk experience. So on day 1 of a 4-day event, we did a firewalk. This is where you walk on hot coals. That experience has been around for 1,000 years, literally done by cultures everywhere. It's a rite of passage. Yeah, sure. You look around, man.
Oh,
it's out there.
Very cool.
It's crazy,
Okay.
man. The Tahitians.
So let's get into that then. Like what is? I've seen them. I've never done one. I don't know if you're familiar with the show The Office. They have a famous episode where they do the firewalk as a corporate event. Yep. But what is it about the firewalking that makes it so powerful? Because I've watched the videos and it just seems like, wow, people are just really empowered at the end of a firewalk. Is it overcoming the fear? Is it
Sure.
Is it all that?
Sure.
And then on top of that, you're with your community.
Sure.
You've done something that it's meaningful.
100%.
Explain that a little
It's
bit.
all of that. Yeah. You know, if we work off the premise that what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. Okay. How does a Navy SEAL become a Navy SEAL? By sitting in the classroom? That might be part of it. But the Navy SEAL becomes a Navy SEAL when they take their happy asses out into the ocean off the coast of San Onofre in San Diego. It's pitch black. at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then on the way out there, they tell them about the 7 man-eating sharks that inhabit that area of San Diego, and overboard they go. And now you're sitting in darkness by yourself in your own head, and everything you see, hear, and feel. So that's fear. So what does it mean? Because everything in our life is influenced by fear. So what does fear mean to us? Does it mean forget everything and run? Right? Or is it face everything and rise? That's the distinction. And so we have to find the courage to overcome the reasoning and the purpose to not take our life. I was faced with that. I know that. I've been in that moment. I know what it looks like. I know how powerful it is. I know how scary it is. On June 8th of 1988, David, I woke up that morning grossly addicted to heroin, cocaine, alcohol, cigarettes, chocolate chip cookies. Okay. Maybe I still have a problem with chocolate chip cookies. All right. Maybe.
That's all right.
A little bit.
It's the better of all those 4.
Well,
let's just put it that way.
I jokingly say, at least I don't have any court cases coming up because of chocolate chip cookies.
Right.
So that morning it was it. I was in so much pain, excruciatingly painful. Just the physical and the emotional pain. Now I'm married to a woman who's got 3 kids. They're my stepkids. And so that morning is like, I'm going to lock and load, and I'm going to put a bullet in my head. And it dawns on me, hey, Dave, do you realize if you pull that trigger, those 3 kids upstairs and their mom that you love dearly, guess who thinks going to clean up that mess and going to have to deal with all of it? Not you. You're dead. They do. And so it was a moment of compassion. I was like, you can't do that, man. You can't leave them with that. You're going to ruin their life. And so as I'm sitting there thinking it out, and I'm angry and I'm frustrated and I'm hurting and all these emotions go off, it was like a little voice went, call Alcoholics Anonymous. And you know what's funny about that? I didn't even know who the hell AA was in that moment.
Really?
I didn't know anybody in AA. I'd never been to AA. Who the hell's Alcoholics Anonymous? But yet there was the thought. So I did. I called AA. And I got this wonderful lady on the phone, man. And over the years, I've nicknamed her Madge. And the reason I nicknamed her Madge is because she talked like this. She was smoking 2 packs of Pall Mall non-filters a day. And I'll tell you, bro, she was a badass. She was the gatekeeper. Her job was to interview you. And if she thought you were real enough, what she would do, she would call somebody in AA to come pick you up. And she did. And so I went to my first meeting that day. In fact, I went to 4 meetings that day. I went to a 12:30, a 4:30, a 6:30, and an 8:30. And man, it stuck. I've said over the years, the only 2 places I ever felt it really home back in that moment in June of 88 was some shitty little bar somewhere where I could go in the back and hide out in the dark and drink and scream and yell and cry and, just drown my sorrows, where I felt absolutely at home in an AA meeting. As well I should, because those men, it was an all men's group, they knew how I felt. And when they said something to me and they said something like, we know how you feel, Dave, they were congruent in their word. They did. They knew. And they also knew I was suicidal. They knew I was homicidal. And so they just embraced me, man. And here's what they did for me. They loved me until I could love myself. And then, as I grew in AA, got a sponsor, started working the steps, started doing the things I was supposed to do, I started helping other alcoholics achieve sobriety. Well, I became addicted to that because in AA, you got the 12 steps. The 12 steps are there to help you put your life back together. You got the 12 traditions. That helps you operate within the group. Well, in the middle, there's this thing called the preamble. And the preamble says, when anyone anywhere reaches out, I want the hand of AA to be there. And for that, I'm responsible. Well, color my ass happy, man. And I did. And so there it was. What is it? That's divine purpose, as we were talking about earlier. And so my divine purpose was helping other alcoholics. And so, one day turned into a week turned into a month turned into a year. And then, they give you a little medallion. It said 1 year continuous sobriety. And so this last year, here in 2024, I picked a chip this year for 36 years. Now, here's where it got interesting. When I got to AA, I had insomnia, and I was up late at night all the time. I couldn't sleep. Well, guess Guess who's on the airways at 3:00 in the morning back in 1988? A young, vibrant Tony Robbins. There he is, man.
Yep.
Right? He's selling personal power. It's a 30-day program for total success. And what you did is you bought it from him, and they sent it to you in a big box.
It was tapes.
Yeah, these little white things called cassette tapes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
for our millennial and younger listeners.
Right. Yeah.
This is something you could rewind.
Yeah. Everybody had a pencil because you had to learn to rewind those things. Go to the Smithsonian. They're there. They're right next to 8-track tapes and reel-to-reels. So I plugged them in, David, and I did what the man taught me to do, and it worked. Well, I ended up loaning my tape program to a buddy of mine in AA. That was all going on in 88, 89. And then in 1995, my buddy Dan called me and said, "Hey, Albie, did you know that Tony Robbins is coming to town?" And I go, "No, I had no idea." He goes, "Dude, come on, we got to go. I mean, you got me into this. Come on, go with me." I said, "Oh, go. It's great. Is a date? Yeah, dates work. Great." He goes, "I'll call you back." He calls me back an hour later, and he goes, "Done. Here's what they told us to do. Number 1, drink a lot of water. You've got to hydrate. Okay. Bring snacks. You're going to spend a lot of time in the room." I laugh. Okay. What an understatement that is. You go to a Tony Robbins seminar, anybody out there's listening, they know they're laughing too, because hell, you'll be in a room with him for 12 hours. Literally. Bring a good attitude and be ready to play full out, he said. And I went, "Great. How much was the ticket, Dan?" He said, $695. I was like, "What?" In 1995.
That's like 10 grand.
That's what I said. I'm like, what is that worth today? Like 1.2, 1.3 million?
At least.
Yeah, buy Bitcoin. So anyway, the big day comes and we get, oh, by the way, before he hangs up, he goes, "Oh, wait. Don't get off the phone yet. I got to tell you the most important part. We're going to be doing a firewalk." And I'm thinking, firewalk? What is that? I don't know what that means. I have no references for that, but I'm like, oh no. No. I'm not doing any firewalk, because the word fire and walk in the same sentence didn't sound like anything I was going to be doing. And besides that, David, fear had been making all my decisions up until that point. Everything.
Right.
So I'm like, "Yeah, sure, Dan, firewalk sounds interesting. All right, bro, I'll see you then." Got off the phone and went, "No, we ain't doing that." And so the big day comes. And we get to the event, and Tony took the stage at 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, the next thing I know, it's after midnight. 10 hours. Remember, bring snacks, you'll starve to death?
Holy moly. Wow.
10 hours. And all of a sudden, it's after midnight. Tony goes, "Take your shoes off." And I'm like, "Oh, no. Don't think I don't know where you're going with that, pal. You're not tricking me into that shit. I am not doing that." Well, I got a problem. I'm in a room with 3,500 people, and my buddy's sitting right next to me, and guess what they're all doing? They're taking their shoes off. So what am I going to do? Not do that?
You're not going to bitch out.
And bitch out and walk out and go, "Hey, look at the guy over there. He didn't take his shoes off," right? Oh, no. So now I'm like, all right, so what are you going to do? I'm like, all right, just calm down. Just take your shoes off. Nobody's going to know. And when you get out there, ditch your buddy. He's only 5'5". Ditch him and go hide in the back. No one's going to know shit. And so that's my plan. Well, okay. So when he gets everybody going out to this big parking lot where this firewalk's going to be taking place, he's got everybody chanting and clapping. So they're going out there going, "Yes, yes, yes." I'm walking out there going, "No, I ain't doing this." It gets worse. You get out there, he's got African drummers. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, David, it's a dog and pony show unlike anything you've ever seen. So I slip my buddy. I literally ditch him and I go hide in the back when we get out there. Well, here's a problem. Tony Robbins knows that the firewalk is probably the most powerful experience any human will ever go through, period. He also knows there's people like me. And he also knows that if we don't do it, we're going to miss the paradigm shift. So what's he do? SOB trains people to come find you. I'm hiding out in the back thinking
they have hunters. They
got hunters. I'm in the back thinking I got it all figured out. No, I don't.
"Hey, Dave, what are you doing over there?"
Oh, me?
No, I was just on my way. I had to go pee.
Yeah, right.
I'm coming back. Like, all the excuses in the book. They're like, "Okay, all right."
This guy's coming at me. He gets probably 20 feet from me, and he's looking at me really funny, like a dog that hears a funny noise, right? And he goes, and he points at me and goes, "Hey, man, are you okay?" Well, no, I'm not okay, you idiot. What do you think I'm hiding in the back for? Now, I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking. And I'm like, no,
Right.
you know, when somebody asks and we're not doing good, what do? We lie. Oh, I'm fine. All good
Good to
here.
go.
Nothing to see. Move along, right? He goes right for the kill shot. He goes, hey, man, you going to walk tonight? And I said, absolutely not. And he's like, hey, man, that's cool. Hey, no problem. We don't want you to do anything you don't want to do. And I went, oh, okay. I like this guy. He's going to get me out of here. No, he's not. He's setting me up. Because the next question he asked me, this is a perfect stranger, by the way. I don't know who this dude is to this day. But the question he asked, he goes, wouldn't you at least like to watch? And I thought, sure, why not? Let's watch these people burn their feet off. This will be entertaining as hell. And he goes, well, listen, man, you can't see anything from way back here. I am. I'm 100 feet away. Excuse me, I'm 100 yards away. I got 30.
Your full football field.
I got a football field between me. I got 3,500 people standing in front of me. I can't see anything. I can hear it, right? The drums are going. People are chanting. People are already firewalking. They're screaming and yelling with celebration. There's a giant fire over here in the corner. How do you walk 3,500 people? You build a big-ass fire, and you build it for 10 hours. And you just keep throwing hardwood on it, seasoned hardwood, cord after cord after cord of wood, burns all day. Then it renders. You got a big giant pile of coals at the end of the night. You take those coals, you load them in a wheelbarrow, a steel wheelbarrow. You bring a wheelbarrow in between two lanes of sod of grass that's about, 3 feet wide, 15, 18 feet long. Take a flathead shovel, sprinkle those coals on top of that grass, pat it down. That's your fire lane. That's what you walk on. So that's going on. So I get in, he talks me into getting in, and I took the bait. I get in line. Next thing I know, another stranger comes up to me and he whispers in my ear and he kind of goes, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. And boo, this guy just disappeared into the night. And I'm like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? What do you mean he knows when you're ready? When he says go, you go. What does that mean? And so now I'm kind of
confused.
Oh yeah, I'm freaking out, man. My brain is all over the place. So I'm kind of walking along, chugging along, and all of a sudden I can't see in front of me. Got 1,000 people in front of me still, but I can see at an angle. And David, they're doing it. These people are every race, every creed, every color, all of them, tall, short, young, old. They're firewalking, and my brain's going, why? We're mammals. We're taught to run from fire, not walk on the shit. And so now I'm mesmerized. I can't take my eyes off it. And I'm just kind of walking along. It's kind of like the car wreck that you say you're not going to look at. Well, you can't take your eyes off it. And the next thing I know, I'm walking and boom, guess where I am? Yeah, I'm at the front of the line. And I'm asking, how the hell did you get here? I'm not going to do this. So I'm looking down. I'm looking at that lane, right? 3 feet wide, 15 feet long. Coals are on it, bright red. My heart's beating out of my chest. I'm scared to death. The wheelbarrow's there full of coals. You can feel the heat coming off. I mean, it got real fast. Well, there's a trainer standing right there. And as I'm staring into the abyss, the trainer goes, eyes up. Like you idiot. But were you not in a room with Robbins for 10 hours? What do you think he taught you to do? Keep your eyes up. So now my eyes are up, and the trainer goes, squeeze your fist and say yes. And I went, yes. And he went, stronger. And I went, yes. Well, he could tell. He knew I was leaving a lot on the table. I was not in a peak state, and he knew it. So he got in my face and screams at me. And so I threw my hands in the air and said yes and screamed, and he goes, go, go, go. Boom. I took off. Well, here's the first thing I learned about firewalking. When you take the first step, you'll take the second, third, fourth, and fifth. I promise you. Right? Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. And so he puts two people at the end, and they lock their arms and they catch you. And they're like, stop, wipe your feet and celebrate. And I'm wiping my feet and I'm celebrating. And originally I thought I burnt myself. No. My feet are dirty, but there's no burns. None. And so now I'm celebrating and I'm going, all right, you just walked on coals that are 1,000 degrees. You didn't burn yourself. And guess what, pal? You don't have any idea how you did it. None. I just did it. And so it was powerful, man. I can tell you that moment right then, you're like, okay, let's get on the bus, people. Let's go climb Mount Everest. Because you think you can do anything. You're invincible in that moment. But here's the most interesting part for me and why I'm here and on your podcast talking about this today was the next day. This is a 4-day event. That's day one, that night. Now it's day two. 3,500 firewalkers are standing in the foyer of the venue getting ready to go inside in the room. And I'm watching these people, David, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. To this day, I've never seen anything like it. Because they're getting along so beautifully, so humanistically. Because they're laughing and they're crying and they're hugging and they're it's just beautiful. They're talking about their fears. They're talking about the firewalk. And I'm sitting back watching them going, so I'm guessing we drank the Kool-Aid last night. Yeah, we drank the Kool-Aid last night. And so that was that moment that you asked about earlier. What does the firewalk do? It does it. That's it, what it does right there. You can take a group of people and take them across that fire and bring them in the next morning, and they're connected at a level that I don't know any team building experience, anything like that. There isn't. And so there I was, man. Well, later I met one of Tony's trainers, and I'm talking to Ted Macy, super great guy, him and his wife, Mary. And so I said, so Ted, let me ask you something. What's it like being in this environment on a regular basis? He goes, dude, are you kidding me? Can you imagine being in this environment several times a year? And he goes, as a matter of fact, he goes, you see those people standing over there with the black shirts and the pink writing on the back? I said, yeah. He goes, dude, they're volunteers. They're people just like you. They came, and now they're here as volunteers to come give back. So do this. When you get home, call Robbins Research. Tell them you want an application for a volunteer crew membership. And who knows? Maybe you'll get chosen. I did that. And like 9 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail, and it said, Dave Albin, congratulations. You've been selected to crew with the Anthony Robbins companies.
Shoot.
So, color my ass happy. There I was.
Dave, I'm just gonna interrupt you there. I've been really fascinated by this idea of synchronicity, the Jungian model that there's no such thing as coincidence.
Right.
You ended up, you had a near suicide attempt.
Yep.
That rattled you, right?
For sure.
Shit.
Oh, shit.
A big moment of compassion. And like you said, there was a voice in your head, AA.
Yep.
I don't take that as take that lightly when I hear from other people and now for myself. And you mentioned the divine. Now, I don't mean to take this into like the religious aspect of things, but I do think there's a very strong spiritual aspect that I think a lot of us are missing. And it seems like, and this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a deeply spiritual experience from that like deepest, darkest moment to where you are now. And every step along the way wasn't a coincidence. And now you're here and doing all the awesome things that you're doing. Am I off the mark on that, or do you think that's pretty bang on?
No, you're spot on. I mean, how did I know about AA? And I didn't know, but there it was.
Right.
I'm calling them. Next thing I know, I'm there. So yeah, it was pretty divine, that's for sure. And then because I believe, David, that the two most important times in any human's life is the moment they're born and the moment they figure out why. And so a lot of that why started showing up instantaneously. I got to AA. I'm supposed to be there. Oh, you're supposed to help other alcoholics. Oh, okay. And so, boom, it all came together. Oh, you're up late. Oh, you're watching an infomercial. Oh, you're watching Tony Robbins. Oh, buy the program. Oh, loan it to a buddy. Oh, he's calling you. Hey, Tony's coming. Let's go watch him. Oh, okay. Hey, let's do the firewalk. No. But there's a guy that comes up, a stranger. He goes, you okay? No, I'm not okay. Well, why don't you just get in line and watch? Okay. Guy comes up, another stranger. Hey, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. Oh, okay. Boom, I went. Next thing you know, Tony's trainer. Hey, Dave, why don't you come back? Take a look at this. When I came back and I started volunteering, I think I volunteered maybe a half a dozen times. And then the next thing I know, they're offering me a position. Tony has a security detail that takes care of all his celebrities. I went on that detail. I had a military background, had a security background, so I was a shoo-in. And then also, they looked at my life. When you fill out the application, Dave, it's like 6 pages. Well, they saw I lived on a farm. Oh, I bet he knows how to use a log splitter. wonder if he knows what a wood stove is. Oh, I wonder if he knows the difference between hickory, locust, oak, hardwood. You know what I mean? So it was just like,
and you're just like, yeah. They're like, who does it?
Yeah, right.
Like, every city boy like me. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, you know,
wood.
what wood stove do you want to see? You want to see the one in the barn? You want to see the one in my office? You want to see the one in the house? I mean, yeah. So I know all that stuff. So I knew how to use tools, and so they put me on the fire team, and I was going on a regular basis, but I was volunteering, and I was spending, you know, $1,000, $1,500 every time I went. Well, my wife is like this. Who's Tony Robbins? You know, because I'm spending $1,000 every time I go, and you know, rightfully so. She was like, "Who the hell is this Tony Robbins guy?"
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Right?
Man.
So,
it's like, where are you going to all these seminars?
Go to all these seminars. Well, then when they offered me the subcontractor's position, they did something really smart. They gave me a free ticket, and so I took her. And she went all the way through the end. And then after she graduated on day 4, we were out walking on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. And she looked at me, and, you know, it's 2:00 in the morning. She goes, "Okay, I get it. This guy's a badass. All right. As long as he pays your way, you want to travel around the world with this guy, go for it." Which turned out really, really well later, too, because once I became the fire captain, that was all going down in 95 and 96. In 2003, Robbins offered me the captain's position, where I would take over all of Tony's firewalks globally. At the same time, he said, "Oh, and by the way, you homeschool your kids. We want to bring your kids and your family with us." So he paid for my kids and my wife to go on the road with them. And so, you know, again, my wife and my kids got to go on the road with their dad, with Tony Robbins. In fact, the first event we did together as a family was in Sydney, Australia. So, you know what I mean? So that all came full circle when my wife was like, "Who's this Tony Robbins guy?" You know, and oh, wow, now I'm on the road with the guy, right? So, and then, so that all went down in 2003. 2005, we set the world record. That's where we firewalked 12,300 people in London, over in the Docklands, at the Excel Center. And that went down in 05. And then kind of moving along in 2014, I'm driving down the road, and, you know, my phone rings, and it's Google. And Google's like, "Hey,
like Google,
like Google, you know, let's go Google. You'll know who they are."
You don't normally get calls from like Google, like, "Hey, Mr. Google,
yeah,
how are you?"
And I'm thinking this is some kind of joke, quite candidly. Right. So they're like, "Hey, so are you the Dave Albin that does the firewalks for Tony Robbins, right? Yeah, what can I do for you?" "Well, if you're not under any contractual obligation or non-compete, we'd like to talk to you about hiring you." "No shit. Really? Well, homeboy's a free agent. What you got?" And so that was the moment. Next thing I know, Google's hiring me. And that was when I realized, in fact, I had a conversation with one of the executives, and she goes, "Hey, Dave, you may want to think about taking this on the road, dude." She goes, "Corporate America will eat you alive because you're it. You're the guy that can literally make lasting change within the groups of people. And this is exactly what corporate America is looking for when it comes to team building. You're the guy. You're at the top of the mountain." So I went, well, gee, if Google's telling me I should start my own business, maybe, just maybe, I should listen to them.
No kidding.
So Firewalk Productions was born in 2014. And, you know, pun intended, we've been going hot and heavy ever since.
That's such an incredible story, Dave. Honestly, like,
yeah.
And part of the reason why I like talking to folks like you is because obviously you're going to come and bring the energy. You wouldn't be part of Tony's team if you didn't have that energy. But if I understand correctly, that energy wasn't always there. It was latent for a long time. Sure. And would you say that, you know, up until you got the experience to actually pull it out of you in a, if you want to call it a loving, nurturing, and I guess welcoming environment, you just weren't able to express your true nature? Because the reason why I asked that question is that I've been guilty of that, where I'm keeping myself down because for whatever reason, I don't want to seem like I'm too much. I don't want to shine brighter than others. And it almost feels like I don't want to go ahead and kind of do too much. And I'm keeping myself at, you know, a lower threshold than I could be. But I think there's a lot of veterans out there that could really benefit from the message that, hey, if you got something that you want to do, if you got something that you want to actually pursue, just like the quote that we used before, like maybe it's just you're using it as an excuse to not actually help yourself be better. Would you say that that kind of resonates with like your story, that you were just holding yourself back for so long, and then once you found it and once you accepted it, then you're able to move into abundance? Is that safe to say?
Sure, for sure. The transition was, I could make up a story. Oh, I don't want to overshadow my friends, and I don't want to do, and I don't, and bullshit. That's a lie. It's not true. And I knew it wasn't true. My other saying is stop looking for heroes and be one. Just show up already. And so, once I got there, and again, once you start living from the inside out instead of from the outside in, everything changes. I'm not doing it for the significance or the notoriety or the attention. I don't need any of that shit anymore. I got a lot of it. I mean, I did. When you're traveling around the world and you're Tony Robbins' main guy, there's a lot of people watching you. There's a lot, you get a lot of attention, and it felt good. It felt really, really good. But you get to a point where you go, okay, that's not it. I believe, one of my mentors said something to me that I've never forgot. He said, every human has two lives. And the second one starts when you realize you have only one. Ponder that one for a minute. And so I realized that I had a responsibility. Where much is given, where much is received, much needs to be given. And I knew I had a responsibility. And what helped me get that was the whole thing within AA, is helping other alcoholics achieve sobriety. Because when a new guy walks through that door, their life's on the line. This isn't the Qantas Club. This isn't the Lions Club. This isn't the Chamber of Commerce. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. And that dude's going to die if we don't get him the help. So it's triage in some regards. Yeah. And so that just kind of transcended, if you will, all the way out through, Firewalk Productions. And now, that's amazing. And here's where we are now. I was talking about doing the podcasting with the one gal, and we were talking about, Operation Do No Harm. And that's what got me. I realized that I can take that powerful experience and create purpose with it. And now we can take that out there. Like if corporate America wants to hire me now, I give them a couple of options. Number one, you can hire me like you've always been able to do. What's going on? Oh, we're launching a product. Or, we've got some morale issues. We got some dissension going on. My people are arguing about mask wearing again. Or they're arguing about vaccines, or they're arguing about, how much somebody hates Donald Trump, or how somebody loves Donald Trump. What a crock of shit. Let me tell you, and most CEOs know if they don't fix that ongoing dissension in the company, where do you think their production's going to go?
It's cancer. Yeah.
It's cancer. It's going in the toilet. So Mr. or Mrs. CEO, you better fix it. And that's why I'm the fix-it guy. Because the fire doesn't give a shit about any of that, And so I've created now, it's literally a whole program. So I go to the client calls me. All right, so what are you doing? Oh, you got dissension going on. Okay, let's do this. How'd you like to, at the same time, tap into one of these categories? Vets, first responders, single moms, or kids. So here's what we'll do. Yeah, we'll do the event for your company, but why don't you bring in 100 vets or 100 first responders or 100 moms? And then you incorporate them into it. And now, you're uplifting your team, but you're saving their life. And so when you bring that together and the whole team gets to be part of that, it's off the chain. And so they get to be part of that, right? Because then one of the things we do, I give them one of these. It's the calls. Mm-hmm. It's calls from the Firewalk, right? And then we do other things too. Like I've got some corporate sponsors. Here's one of them. Zippo, Operation Do No Harm, made by I just put in another order. So I've got
it's got a common theme here, Dave. I'm trying to
light the fire together, with something, Dave. Why not make it a Zippo, right? They're great. They're awesome. They're incredible. And what's cool about Zippo is that they're like the ultimate entrepreneurial company. Because Blatstow, the guy that started it back in the early 30s during the Depression, basically saw a lighter. You had to light it with two hands. And he goes, you know what? I bet you could. I bet I can build a better mousetrap. you ever watch Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful talks about being able to build a better mousetrap. Well, we did. Well, hell, and he started it right in the middle of the Great Depression, Zippo, and he gave him 100% money back guarantee. If you buy a Zippo and you break it 52 years later, they'll give you a new one. I mean, it's crazy. What a great company. And so I love it because it's such a great role model for other companies. And as of last year in 2023, Zippo has manufactured over 800 million lighters. They're coming up on a billion, right? So, yeah, love me some Zippo. And what's interesting too, for all the vets, if you go back during World War II, a lot of people don't know this. Zippo made a lighter for our vets to take overseas, and they gave them away, and they made them out of brass because they were saving the metal for other things. And I know this because my dad had one. He carried it with him in World War II when he went to Europe to fight the Nazis. And when he came home, it was sitting on a dish on his dresser till the day he died. So that's Zippo.
Those things, they last in families, sometimes as heirlooms, right?
Exactly.
And me, even not like, I'm not a smoker. We got Zippos because they're Zippos, right?
Yeah.
Dave, due to my own incompetence, we have to cut our conversation short.
Yeah. You got another gig. I got you,
because
brother.
that's the nature of veteran brain. But I love what we've started here in terms of talking about your journey and your story, and just scratching the surface of what you've experienced and what you've done. I think it's going to have an impact within the community, and I'd love to be able to carry on the conversation later. And before we wrap up, I mean, I said earlier, there's a reason for everything. There's synchronicity happening, and I don't think it is by coincidence that I ended up on Podmatch, and that you ended up sending me a message. So, like you, I lean into things when I notice something that is quote unquote coincidental, because it only ends up being fruitful in the end, and it has for me, and it seems like it's been fruitful for you as well.
Sure.
So with that being said, before we wrap up, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Just know that there's a calling for you, all of us. And I said it earlier, stop looking for heroes and be one. This community of veterans and first responders and moms and kids, they need our help. They need encouragement. They need wisdom. They need people to tell them, hey, you're going to be okay. We love you. We appreciate you. You're important to us. And those words alone can change somebody's life that quick. And so, as I said in the beginning, stop looking for heroes and be one. And, we'd love to have you involved with us, with you, David, working together. There's more going on here. That's for sure. So, come be a part of it. I love it. We need your help.
I love it. We'll definitely have to chat a little bit more offline, and definitely get to the bottom of where the universe is putting us. So, Dave, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This has been such a cool conversation. And folks, you're definitely going to want to check out Dave's website. He's got a badass website. I was on it all day today. I'm going to put the link here in the description and learn more. There's just so much to learn about this guy. So you're definitely going to want to check out all the links that are in there too. So Dave, thanks so much.
Thanks, brother.
Folks, don't forget, train hard, fight easy. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.